Spreadsheets can serve as a great complement to, or actually a replacement for, in some cases, your other software. Spreadsheets, the beauty of them, and the reason that I don't foresee a time when people will no longer use them is because they can handle nearly any task. If you can dream it up in a spreadsheet, you can do it. And they can help understand the quantitative aspects of your business. You really get down into a deep dive analysis, so you're not left to guess on certain things. You can actually know, and more importantly, for the future, you can not. Um, you can see what the cost of taking a particular course of action would be versus, just guessing or not caring. So, particularly for small restaurants, if you got a bigger operation, then there could be situations where spreadsheets might start to become a little bit cumbersome. They do reach kind of a critical mass, so to speak, admittedly, but the nice thing about them is that they it goes back to my previous point where they can serve as a complement to the software to answer the questions that your particular software might not ask, and they're cost effective too in that respect. I mean, hell, Google Sheets is free. Microsoft Excel is not that expensive, so if you just got like a one-off uh, analysis, one-off question, then they can definitely be valuable in terms of helping you get to the bottom of that versus buying some unknown piece of software that's going to cost you $50 per month or whatever the case may be. So anyhow, like all of my presentations, all of my videos, the spreadsheet, in this case, this exact spreadsheet, minus the presentation, will be available on spreadsheetsforbusiness.com as a blog post and along with a summary, since the presentation will be gone. And I'll put a link to that in the description. At the end, I'll address a couple of questions. Now, of course, this isn't live, this is recorded, so the questions won't be direct, but these are some questions that I thought might be logical next questions, or in some cases, I pull them off of Quora related questions, address them, and hopefully they'll address any concerns that you might have. And if they don't, you can always put questions down in the comments. Okay, so let's get into it. Are spreadsheets a must-have for a chef? Well, I got to give credit where credit is due. I used a blog post as inspiration for this video, and it came from what's called the Backburner Blog. I'll put a link to that down in the description too, and that's here. So it's based off of this blog post, and some of the points that they made. This comes from a chef. Their quote: "Spreadsheets are second only to a good set of knives." So spreadsheets intimidate a lot of people. I understand that. I love them, live and die by them, use them all the time. But I can appreciate how they can be intimidating. So, if you are a restaurateur, then I would encourage you to take a course if you must, in spreadsheets, and just learn some fundamental things. Just get past that point of intimidation, because they can be such a useful tool for you, in which we'll go into more detail, where we'll go over all the different uses and examples that I made on how to use a spreadsheet in a restaurant. Really, and that's the point of, they will make your life easier. Now, you know, even if it takes a little bit of time to learn them, uh, and it takes extra time to pull the information from your accounting software, your ERP, your point of sale software. The point is, it'll help you make better decisions, do better analysis, make better decisions with it in your restaurant, and therefore make your life easier. There's a learning curve, like with anything, but you know they are meant to help you ultimately. And I think in most cases, and just unless it's really not your thing, that they should be able to. And like I said, most point of sale systems will export into a CSV format. So a lot of these example spreadsheets we go through, you're going to have your data laid out for you there, and it just makes it that much easier to use. So What are some of the things that a restaurant can use spreadsheets for? Um, Staff scheduling. Okay, we'll go through these one by one and real quick, and I'll kind of show you the example spreadsheet again. If you want to download this, you'll want to go to the description. I'll link to spreadsheetsforbusiness.com. There, you can download it, use it for yourself, modify it if you like. It's yours to do whatever you want with. But definitely check that out if you think any of these examples will be useful to you. Okay, so I mentioned scheduling. So this spreadsheet I made here, it's pretty simplistic. Basically you've got your date, and it'll automatically fill in the day of the week. So what is today? Today is actually the 10th of December. So we put that there. See everything change. It'll, change the day of the week, change the other dates in that. So that's just one cell. All you got to do is type it in. Any of my worksheets, it's the white empty cells where you would type stuff in. The colored cells are usually going to have a formula or some sort of heading or description or something, field name, something like that. So I try to make it pretty straightforward on my spreadsheets how to use them. So down here, you've got the different types of potential employees, managers, servers, chefs, bartenders, etc. Down here, a lot of spaces, and this is where you would fill in an individual's name, of course, and then you'll notice a little drop-down menu here where you can put in their what they're scheduled to work on any given day. So maybe you think to yourself, well, okay, those aren't my shifts. That's fine. If you come down to the bottom here, here's where you can put in additional shifts. So you want to add a shift that was just over the lunch hour. I don't think I have one of those. You want to say 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Boom, you'll notice on any of these drop downs, there it is. Okay, so change this, adjust it to your own needs. It's very flexible, it's simple, but adaptable. Of course, restaurant name, your restaurant name would go there. Okay, what else? Well, order sheets. So in essence, PO from your vendor. Okay, similar sort of thing here. You can see where you can put in your own logo, purchase order. That's just the name of the document, of course, kind of typical because this sort of thing you would probably print out or turn into a PDF or something and then send to your vendor. But here it is. Okay, you got vendor name. Where's that come from? Again, down here at the bottom, all right, where you can keep a vendor list. Okay, you got vendor, their address, city, state, all their contact information. Okay, and that gets pulled in up here, automatically filled in. So as you add information here, it's going to automatically update and make it easy to change here. So you can add it one time rather than retyping it or writing it or whatever the case may be. Of course, the bill to, ship to information, that would be your own. Update yourself, date, PO number, customer number. Can delete those if you don't need them, or you would make them specific to your particular restaurant. Okay. Shipping method, terms, same thing, all that. That's all, all depends on your vendor, all depends on the restaurant. And then down here is where you put in item numbers, descriptions, quantities. Now this will automatically calculate for you. Okay. So in this case, 5 of this particular item number times the unit price, 15 a piece, is going to be $75. As you continue to add stuff down here, you'll see that it automatically adds and creates your subtotal and grand total ultimately after all the other stuff is put in. All right. Discount, tax percent, all that's specific to the vendor, specific to your jurisdiction, so on and so forth. But the math's done for you. So when you're ready, you can print this bad boy out and, like I said, or make it a PDF, sign it, and get it off to your vendor to get your ingredients. Okay. Next example of something that a restaurant can use spreadsheets for is vendor lists. Vendor lists were covered, of course, at the bottom of the vendor order sheet. Uh, After that, we've got daily prep lists. Again, all these are pretty simplistic. Here you would put in your restaurant name, date, particular day of the week, if you wish to use that information, the position, doing, either the area of the restaurant or the individual doing the preparation. And it's just a matter of filling in. There's no calculations here. The item, shelf life, how much they're making, what your par levels are for, peak time, off peak days, I should say, uh, how much quantity you have on hand, your inventory, and then the amount that you're preparing, along with any comments. After that, we're looking at inventory control. Okay, this is a little more detailed, a little more complicated. In this case, you can have item categories, all right, whether they're, meat, drink, um, you know, uh, pasta. You decide your own categories, how you want to group inventory items together. And then, you put the individual inventory items here in the unit of measure. That's important. You want to be counting things on a consistent unit of measure, and then the quantity you have on hand and the cost. It's important. Now, what you have on hand is on hand. You're going to rely upon this, on your daily prep sheet, maybe on other spreadsheets. So, you make sure this is available, not on its way, not, what you think you have. It's a document that you want to keep up to date, but the extended cost then is just going to be the quantity times the cost. Okay, and that will automatically calculate for you again because it's in the shaded cell. So you fill all this in over here. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Then what we've got over here is called a pivot table, and this is a little bit of advanced Excel, admittedly. But what it does is group these things to make it easy to read. Okay, so it like groups category one here and makes a grand total for you. In this case, like the sum of quantity, since these are all different items, it isn't going to matter all that much. Neither is the average cost, but it just makes it a nice, easy to read format. So if you add something else, let's say we added a new category here, call it category 4, item 15. And we'll just say this is in gallons. We have 10 of them at $10 a pop. All right, so after that new line is added, what you might need to do is come over here down to click on the pivot table rather, sorry, come down here to filters. I wanted to filter out the blanks, see, because we don't want those showing up. But add category 4 in this case and hit OK and see there it's added to the bottom. So that's it for that. It's really a matter of filling in this information here. And then, like I said, just making sure that it's being added to the pivot table. And that's going to be done under filters. Next up is a variable food cost lists. These are going to be used for pricing, and more specifically, the example I've made here is for recipe pricing. So it's called recipe costing, food costing, something like that. But pricing is dependent in large part upon costing. Now, it's also dependent upon the market, and that's the reason here I've also included a link down in the description to a video that I made on pricing that goes into detail with, I forget, dozen or more different pricing strategies, and it itself has this tool for pricing that helps you kind of quantify what a good price might be. So again, I don't think it's a good idea to price strictly based off of costs, more off of the market, more off of what the value providing you're providing to your customers more off of you know, other factors than strictly costing. But cost is important. You certainly want to make sure you're pricing above your cost. So this spreadsheet is a little more detailed, admittedly. So what you do here, of course, you put your recipe name. You can print these off, like I said, if you want. Um, First and foremost, I got to give credit where credit's due. Now, I used inspiration for all these spreadsheets. I've never worked specifically in the food service industry. Well, I can't say that. I worked at Pizza Hut. I think that was my first job, but that was a rather long time ago. So I sure as heck wasn't making any spreadsheets back then. But anyhow, credit for this goes to Food Truck Empire. Let's check this guy out. Um, I used his template as inspiration here. So, but what you want to do here is start with your original recipe, whether this be grandma's recipe, your own recipe, something pull off the internet, whatever. You want to start with the original size, and it will scale up as you need. Uh, because you're obviously probably going to make bigger batches than for your customers rather than just what a person might make for their family. So in this case, I'm using this gentleman's clam chowder dip example, and in this case, the original recipe is 40 ounces. They made 6 servings. Okay, we want to scale it up. We want to make a recipe that does 24 servings. Okay, you think that's what you need for your lunch hour, for the day, whatever the case may be. So that's what this means. You want to keep in mind your unit of measure there. So the ingredients go down here. That's pretty simple. Okay, and then again, this is for the original recipe. Unit of measure in the initial recipe. All right. Now here's where we get into the costing part of it. When you buy this, what are you spending? Okay. If you're buying, cream cheese in bulk, canned clams, whatever the case may be, you're buying them this is in the unit of measure. Make sure it's the same. Don't put cream cheese, how much you're buying per pound. Okay. You want to stick with this unit of measure. That's important. Okay. Because otherwise it's going to throw a wrench into things. Your costing isn't going to be right, and subsequently your pricing. So 32 ounces cream cheese, 30 ounces of clams. All right. Keep it consistent, the unit measure. That's why we put it there. Okay. Then you're going to put here what you paid for it. Now it's going to automatically calculate then what you're paying per that unit of measure. All right. 364 divided by 32 is 11 cents plus an ounce. Now the recipe amount is how much the original recipe calls for. Okay, so in this case, we're sticking with the original recipe, so you have to do any of this mental math yourself. This thing will automatically scale for you. Just copy it right into here. So now you're going to input the recipe amount in the unit of measure that's specified here. I can't emphasize that enough. You got to stay consistent. It doesn't do conversions across pounds, ounces, gallons, ounces, whatever the case may be. So you've got to stay simplistic and consistent. It's one kind of shortcoming of spreadsheet. You're your own error check in that respect. But you just type in the amount of the recipe in here. So in this case, for our recipe for clam dip, it's 32 ounces of cream cheese, 30 ounces clams, 8 ounces parsley, this much garlic powder, Worcestershire sauce. Okay, but now it's going to scale it up for you based on the scale factor. This is the original recipe. This we want to scale it up to. So it's multiplying things times 4. Well, it's also doing it with the cost and then breaking it down in the cost per serving. So again, shaded. So all the math's done for you. Down there at the bottom, you've got your bulk cost to make an entire scaled recipe, what you're going to use for the lunch hour, what you're going to use for the day, whatever the case may be. Okay, your big scaled up recipe here, or scaled down as the case may be, but then it breaks it down per serving. So this is what it's costing you. Now just material, not your labor, not your employees' labor, not overhead, none of that, just material. This is what it's costing, $1.52 per serving. So the rule of thumb, as I understood it, for food is 300% markup. Again, I direct you back to that pricing spreadsheet where it talks about pricing, a more holistic view of pricing rather than doing it strictly off of cost, because that's dangerous and it's one-dimensional, and you can do better, I believe. If you do that, you run the risk of maybe you're paying too much, so you're pricing too high. Maybe you're getting good deals, but you're pricing too low and you're leaving revenue on the table. Okay, so check out that video and those pricing strategies. But nevertheless, for the purpose of this spreadsheet, you can enter a desired markup, in this case 300%. Okay, so it gives you a suggested price then at $1.52 serving costs. Suggested price to customers is $4.57. All right, moving along. That's one of the more involved spreadsheets, but hopefully that all made sense. Covered that, recipes, food cost lists, long-term forecasting we'll come back to. Now, let's move on to waste and food loss here, okay, because that's another one I made a spreadsheet for. Again, pretty simplistic. There's only one calculated field in this one. It's particularly simplistic compared to the last spreadsheet, but basically putting in the restaurant area, week of, and then, this is food that's wasted, thrown away. It's scrap. That's what we call it in the manufacturing industry. Okay, you pay for it. Your supplier is going to charge you for it, but you're tossing it out. You're not, in some cases, earning any revenue on it. And even if you are technically earning revenue on it, it's not providing any value. Okay, so it's worth monitoring. It's worth considering. It's good information to have. It's simple. Again, it's putting in the item here, unit of measure, how much scrap was, and what your cost was. It could be estimated, if, again, things have different unit of measures. The biggest benefit is going to be through simply monitoring this versus being down to the fraction of a penny accurate. Okay, so the cost is going to calculate. Item 1 here, scrap 3 of them at $4.91 an ounce, so something pretty expensive. That's $14.73. This was returned by the customer. Let's say this was, I don't know, 3 ounces of something rather expensive. Okay, because they didn't like it. It was cooked wrong. Okay, so you can specify to an employee, just to keep track of what employees are doing what, and then a manager sign off for all this if you deem that necessary. Okay, so you'll notice the waste reasons here have a drop down menu. Okay, that comes from down here. It's the same principle. What's another waste reason? Just say defective. Okay, if we add that, all of a sudden, boom, see, it's on the drop down menu. So modify these, add to them, whatever you need to do to meet your reporting needs. All right, that leaves one more spreadsheet that I made, and kind of falls under this umbrella here, the trends for menu items, but it's basically a sales by day spreadsheet. Allows you to track that. You'll notice here you've got your categories, your standard menu items. All right, and this, of course, is the units sold per day. And just like that first spreadsheet, you can change the day. It'll change the date, rather. It'll change the day of the week. Okay, so all that's done for you. If you change figures in here, you're going to see these little spark charts to the side change. These are just for a quick visualization of a particular menu item. So, say, I don't know, Monday, we had a run on menu item 1. Boom, right away you're going to see that reflected over here in the chart. Okay, real simple, straightforward. Change the categories as you want. We got specials, so you can look at specials versus normal menu items, drinks, desserts. Okay, all that's just charted over to the right in these simple little spark charts. And that kind of touches on this point, scheduling specials, which were successful, which were not. So that's all the specific spreadsheets I made for this video. Download those on the website, spreadsheetsforbusiness.com, link in the description. Okay, so the last two things that a restaurant can use spreadsheets for that I didn't make a specific worksheet for on here, the reason those aren't included is because I kind of already done something similar, so there was no point in being redundant. So I would direct you to that. Again, there'll be a link in the description, and it was for restaurant financial projections. It was part of my series that I did on business plans, and financial projections is an important part of a business plan. So that all is kind of covered there. Here's that blog post. Goes into detail on all this, but here's a spreadsheet, covers the capital budget, operating budget, and financial budget. So go check that out. Particularly when it comes to budgeting and financial projections, that's all covered there. The long-term forecast. Now, for any of these, I would encourage you to, even scheduling template, keep a record of your POs, of course, but prep list, to keep a certain amount of records. So basically, copy these spreadsheets or print them off and file them. Keep a hard copy, whatever works best for you. But as you keep those records, then you can make your own long-term forecast. Inventory usage. Okay, that's going to depend on the prep list and the amount of food waste. All right, vendor pricing. That's going to depend on keeping records day after day, week after week, month after month of your vendor order sheets. The number of people dining, that can, that is again something that you would just have to fill in day after day, week after week. These individual things weren't, they were basically built upon each individual sheet. So I didn't want to make, I don't know, I thought it would add to confusion if I was like, yeah, take it here, then copy it here and everything. That's, I don't know, it's just beyond the scope of this particular video. So there you go. There's some of the things, a lot of things that a restaurant can use a spreadsheet for. And again, work it in with your ERP software, point of sale software, whatever you're using to complement it. You might have something more sophisticated for staff scheduling. That's fine, but maybe you don't have you don't have anything for daily prep lists, and a spreadsheet can help you streamline that. So use them. Spreadsheets are there to fill in the gaps for accomplishing things, to fill in the gaps for analysis in particular. So, speaking of analysis, maybe you don't have enough time, you feel, to deal, to get in-depth analysis, to make better decisions, in terms of what you purchase, what recipes you offer, what you charge for them, things like that nature, because you're doing your own bookkeeping. That's fine. I'm a take control kind of guy, so I understand that. If that's the case, check out BotKeeper. BotKeeper is an AI assisted bookkeeper where a lot of the rudimentary things are handled by AI. It's also reviewed by a person. I'll have a link down in the description that you can check out. But since so much of bookkeeping is redundant, you'll get the perks of an experienced bookkeeper, but at a lower cost. And they provide you support too, so it's not just like you're leaving it to some computer that might make a mistake and keep making a mistake, and in that. So I would definitely check them out. Here's a lot of the things that tasks they can handle, all your typical bookkeeping, all the things you might use QuickBooks Online or whatever the case may be. Bill pay, payroll, reporting, revenue. Again, this would help you free up time to do the analysis, to really manage your business better. And like I said, here's a link in the description. So I like to, towards the end of every video, address questions, like I said, because this isn't live. I can't address direct questions, so I pull them off of Quora. Now, the first question, how to print this stuff. It's not on Quora, but I knew that might be a question. And in Google Sheets here, Excel will be different, but you basically just want to highlight what you want to print. Now this stuff with the fixed that's up here, that's fixed, the restaurant name, day of the week and all that, don't highlight that, or otherwise it'll do it again. But then you're just going to go to File, highlight what you want, go to File, then we want to print. It's over here. You can pick Selected Sales. So see down here we got the shifts. We don't want that. And see how it prints the top, the header, so to speak, on the second sheet. Don't want that. Choose landscape or portrait. In this case, landscape's more appropriate, I think. Then just the selected sales. So see what you got there. That's nice. You get everybody filled in, print this off, put it up, everybody will know their schedule. All right, so that's how you print. Okay, next question. How do restaurants manage finances? Well, I've touched on this quite a bit over the course of this video, and manage finances with software, with data, in essence. You know, that's the only way to do it. I mean, if your decisions will only be as good as your analysis will only be as good as the information you collect. So, you know, manage finances with good information, hopefully, and make good decisions. You might luck out otherwise, but typically the correlation and causation is going to be good information, good decisions, good managing of finances. Finally, how do I get financing to start a restaurant small business? Well, that is a complicated question, a little beyond the scope of this particular video, but I wrote a post. I've written a lot of posts on business plans, and you know, here's one of them that kind of answers that. It's hard to get approved for an SBA loan. 9 testimonials. Okay, so these are testimonials I pulled off the internet, and about getting a SBA loan and some of the things that will be required. Now, there are alternatives to SBA loans, but you know, this can start you down the path of getting to financing your small business. And you'll notice one of the bullet points here is have enough documentation. Okay, this is why did my SBA loan get denied? Poor documentation. Well, if you utilize spreadsheets, if you utilize the software you have, your documentation shouldn't be poor. Okay, you can back up what you say is going to happen. All right, because that's what the lender is interested in. What's going to happen in the future? You know, the past can provide support for that, but they're interested in what your future is going to look like. All right, so if you know, don't overschedule too much staff, therefore pay too much. You know, if you keep track of, you know, don't waste food. So only preparing what you need. If you keep track of your inventory, keep it lean, but also don't lose sales because you don't have inventory. Any one of these sheets, spreadsheets, is an example of, you know, a way that you can keep better control of your business, have better documentation, make better decisions, which are going to help you get financing should you pursue it for your small business restaurant. Okay, so to answer that specifically, how do I get financing to start a small business? You know, document, forecast, you know, back up your assumptions. Okay, and the way you do that is with spreadsheets. So that's all I've got. You know, appreciate those of you who like the video, subscribe to it, and anyhow, I hope that helps. Again, go download this, follow the link, spreadsheets for business.com, download it, and that's all I got. Take care.